Hey guys, what's up? This is Chris with Foot Traffic Only. Go check us out on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to do this quick video on the Grizzlystik RedLine Maasai broadheads. The red lines are the more budget-friendly offerings from Grizzlystik. I'm going to compare them to the original Grizzlysticks. If you like the video, give us a like. Go check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Foot Traffic. Quick review on the Grizzlystik RedLine broadheads and kind of compare them to the original Grizzlystik Maasai broadheads. These will run you about $90 for three of them. These are running about $50 for three of them. The main difference that you're going to see is the steel. The Redline broadheads are AUS 4 steel, whereas the original Grizzlystik Maasai's are 440C. These are a harder steel versus a lighter steel. I think these are like 55 on the Rockwell scale, and these are 53 to 54, something like that. I'm not going to compare the sharpness of them. They're sharp broadheads. Anything you get from Grizzlystik is going to be just a hair shaving sharp. The thickness of the blades is very similar. Obviously, these aren't going to be as thick as those. You're not getting, a $30 a piece broadhead with the red lines. But in my opinion, they're probably better than most anything you're going to get on the commercial market. I decided to go with single bevel broadheads this year, so I've been trying a lot of different brands. Grizzlystik just seems to be the one that I think I'm going to stick with. I don't know that I'm going to stay with the Maasai's. They also have a Samurai. I might be going with the Samurais. I'm not sure. Both of them seem to fly pretty well. With my current setup, I'm getting a little bit of planing with the Maasai's. I can tune that out, I'm sure. I didn't have to do any tuning with the Samurais, but they don't make a Redline Samurai, and I don't want to just buy three broadheads. Anytime I get broadheads, I buy six at a time. I like having six of them for no other reason than OCD. But if I can get half price broadheads, I'm going to go for it. I don't think I'm going to have any issues at all with these broadheads for whitetail. I might get a chance to try them out on some hogs or something. I'd like to do a buffalo hunt one of these days. If I do that, I'll probably have a totally different setup. So far, I've shot one of each, several dozen shots. I can't tell any difference at all as far as penetration into the target. I haven't done an actual bone penetration test. We actually have that planned in the spring. We're going to shoot into some whitetail shoulder blades. Now, all you guys know that whitetail shoulder blades really aren't that thick. But you also know, if you've bow hunted for any time at all, it's thick enough to stop an arrow. Typically, you want to stay away from that shoulder blade, but my goal is I'm going to hammer through the shoulder blade. If I hit it, no worries. I'm going to get the penetration that I need. I want to exceed 650 grains for my total setup, and that's actually pretty easy. Grizzlystik recommends getting the 200 grain broadheads with their 650 Momentum series. I think they're made by Victory, actually, branded as Grizzlystik. They collaborated together and came up with a good arrow. But I'm a working man. I cannot afford their arrows. I bought their test kit, absolutely loved them. I just can't bring myself to paying close to $300 for a dozen arrows. So I'm actually going with Carbon Express Pile Driver 450s, and I can exceed 650 grains with a 125 grain broadhead if I add 100 grain brass inserts, which I've done. My arrows are averaging a little over 700 grains a piece. They're flying great. And one thing I've noticed about the heavier arrow setups is there's like no issue at all with tuning. It's pretty amazing to me. And I think that is because of just my draw length and the poundage that I shoot. I'm a 30 to 31 inch draw length, 70 pounds. And typically any arrow that I find is actually going to be underspined. Any arrow that I find locally. It seems like they're catering more to the 60-pound shooters at 27, 28 inch draw lengths, and the average arrow I can find locally seems to be suited more for them. so I need a heavier arrow anyway just to get the correct spine. But anyway, as far as the broadheads go, I have no doubt that the red lines are every bit as good as the regular Grizzlystik Maasai's. I don't plan on buying any more of the originals. I'll probably buy another pack of the red lines if I decide to go with these broadheads. I can actually show you the samurais that I'm considering. Now, as you tell, these are a longer broadhead. They got about the same cutting width. They're single bevel, right bevel. And I'm not, see if I can take this out without cutting myself. They are very sharp. Now you'll see it's sharpened on one side. This has actually I've been shooting this into a foam target. So, and what that does is it actually creates spin. I don't want to say it actually steers your arrow, because your fletching steers your arrow. But I have noticed that with a single bevel broadhead, I need smaller fletchings. I don't actually need it, but I can get more speed if I use the smaller fletching, and I get the same amount of rotation. And these things have just absolutely tore my targets up. I mean, it's like taking a 1.5-inch drill bit going through your targets. And that's what it does. It spins, and whenever it hits bone, instead of cutting through it like a typical, expandable or, a regular fixed blade, 3 or 4 blade broadhead, where it just kind of cuts through it, these will actually hit and continue to rotate, and they'll split the bone. It's proven better penetration. I mean, you just more bone breaking power. This is what I actually used last year, or something similar to this. I actually used Rage Hypodermics, but I don't have any of those on me right now. This one actually went through a deer, and it's done. I can't use it anymore. It's the ferrule bent, the blades, they're nicked up. And I actually used this one last year on a hog. Actually, both of these. This is a Q80 Exodus and a G5 Montec, and they perform perfectly. There's no damage. I can, reuse these, a little resharpening, be fine. But as you can tell, the size difference, there's quite a bit of size difference there. I used to just use expandables exclusively whenever I got into shooting compounds, because they were easy to tune. I didn't have to do a whole lot of tuning with them. I just, sight in with my field points, and they would shoot almost identical. Then whenever I started shooting fixed points, I had to actually learn how to tune my bows better. And I'm glad I did, because, I learned a lot. I'm still learning. All this stuff is, I'm learning it right now, so I'm no expert on it. I don't want to say I've wasted a lot of money trying to learn this stuff, but I have. Another broadhead that I considered for about 5 seconds was the Grizzlystik Ashby 315. This is a 315 grain right wing single bevel broadhead. It's all one piece. It's forged. They machine it, and then it's extremely sharp. This is for big game. I'm talking, hippos, elephants, Cape buffaloes. But there are people that do use them for whitetail. This is the kind of broadhead that you could shoot, a full size, Midwest whitetail front on in the sternum, and you're going to get, front to end penetration. It's going to break everything on the way through. Nothing stopping this. And this is actually a broadhead that they discontinued. It is the Grizzlystik Nanook, and it is also 315 grains. This was a factory second. It's slightly under 315 grains. It's more at 285, I think. Both of these actually fly really well, and it's kind of weird shooting them out of my compound, because it lobs them in. There's no difference in consistency. They shoot the exact same way every time. It's kind of amazing. I expected a lot different. Expected the drop off to be a lot more, and actually these 315 grain broadheads only shoot about 1/4 of an inch lower at 25 yards than my 125 grain broadheads. Uh, you can basically go as heavy as you want with your arrow setup. It's not going to matter as long as you know, compensate with your sight, your rest, whatever you got to do. You're still going to get the range. It's going to be a lot slower getting there, but it's going to hit like a freight train.